Okay, so first we're going to show you how to remove the blade from the shaft. So here I have a paddle that's already been assembled, and the idea here is to use a heat gun, which I'll show you in a second, and you just want to heat about, that much. So, I don't know, what is that about? Probably 4 inches. 4.5 inches worth of the shaft, and that will give you coverage for where the shaft ends in there. So we're going to do that is take our heat gun, put it over here so I don't melt the camera, turn that on, and keep as I mentioned, keep the shaft moving. You can actually hurt the epoxy or the coating if you hold it in one place. The camera angle is a little off, obviously, so I'm keeping this directly above the heat gun and just overlapping different passes here. Getting it past the connection there, and like I said, about 4.5 inches or so up here. And it may take a couple minutes to loosen this up, depending on how hot your heat gun is. And this paddle I actually just assembled, so the glue is probably still a little warm. So this may take you a bit longer, but I can tell right now, as you can see, hope you can see, I can turn this. And just turn the shaft and pull while you keep the heat on it. And there you go. You've removed your shaft from the blade. Okay, first we're going to talk about the shafts, both the one you have and the new one. So here is an example of one of the shafts you have, which obviously has the handle glued to it. And here's the new shaft with the texture in the opposite direction that you received that obviously does not have the handle glued into the top piece of the shaft. Now, from the factory, all these come as one unit, and they are fitted to each other. So sometimes you can get lucky and swap this whole mechanism and put it in here and not have to worry about removing this handle and transferring it to the new shaft. Other times it might just be too much of a difference between the diameter of these two shafts. I'll show you in a second. So you do have to remove this and then glue it onto the new one. So let me just show you how these shafts fit in here and how they could be different. So I'll just pop out the current one, and here's the new one. Now this new one, shaft right here, I did not tune yet. So you can see it's a little sticky coming out. All the shafts I sent to you folks are matched and they've been wet sanded and tuned, so you won't have this in your shaft, but I left this one intentional to show you. So you can see it's just a little stuck in there. And that has to do with just a little bit of residue on here that I'll show you how to take care of. But for this example, we'll just put that aside. Take your old one. And here we got lucky. So you can see it fits. It might be, no, it's not too loose, it's fine. So just kind of see if it fits, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, well, like I said, we're going to have to transfer the handle over to the new one. And you just need to, you can have some adjustment here. So once you get the entire shaft glued together, what you want to do is hold the blade after the glue is cooled down, close this, and then twist this to see if this piece moves at all. If it does, you just need to tighten up the screw a little bit right here, but you don't want to over tighten this screw. If you over tighten it, it can lead to premature wear of the little cams in there. So once again, this one would work, but let's say for instance, it did not. So what I'm going to say is, I'll show you is, let me put this back in here. Don't get them confused. So this shaft it's come from the factory, and this could be an example of you swapping your old shaft into the new lower shaft. That's not bad actually, but I'll just quickly show you how I would take care of that. So what you can do is you're going to wet sand it, so you can mask this off. I typically don't do this because I do this so often, I'm pretty accurate, but this is just to protect this edge right here. Okay, just a little tape, so you don't have the sandpaper rub up on that. Here I use 3M 320 wet dry paper. You can get an automotive store or Amazon, like you can get anything. And I happen to use a bucket of soapy water, which I keep here in the shop for doing this, but not everyone has a bucket of soapy water laying around. So you can use just some ordinary Windex. So if your shaft is sticking and you need to tune it, I'm just going to put this out of the way for now. What you need to do is, the reason, if you haven't used wet sandpaper before, the reason for it to be in wet is A, a lubricant, so it's able to cut better, and B, it actually keeps the carbon dust from clogging into the pores of the paint. So you just spray a little lubricant on there. Go ahead and wrap this around. And here again, you just want to be careful you don't cut into that edge. If you cut into that edge, it start to scuff it up and it doesn't look great. And also, it just it's not as clean a connection when you lock that down. So put that on there. And I'm not putting much effort. And you can see a little bit of residue on there. I think you can see that. So just go like this. And then go like this motion as well. Now that's all. And now you can really see. 320 is pretty fine, but it just cut a little bit of that carbon off of there. So now I'm just going to take a guess here that it's enough because it didn't really need much. Then you want to clean that off. And here you can see that little bit of carbon dust down there. Clean that off. Now we'll put this back in here. And you can see it's just a little more, it's just a little smoother now. You can see that in the video. Don't need that tape on there anymore. Clean this up. And now that's good. So this could be an example of, as I know I'm repeating myself, but you take your old top piece out, you try to put it into the new shaft I sent you, but it sticks. So it's a little sticky. This process with the wet, dry sandpaper and a little Windex will clean that right up. It's also something you can do after a while. So after you've used your paddle for maybe, I don't know, a season or two, it might start to get sticky. And just needs to be cleaned. You can sometimes clean it with just some Windex, actually. Will clean any scale off there from just what's in the natural water, even if you are rinsing it, because you should be rinsing this quite often. And it could work. Or you can sandpaper after a year or so and do that process. Just do it very carefully because you don't want to remove too much. If this gets too loose, the clamp won't work. So hopefully that makes sense for the shaft and how that process works. So now we're going to move on. Okay, so now we're going to glue the new shaft onto your existing blade. And as you can see, there's already some glue on here from when you pulled it out, obviously. So you don't need a ton of glue, but you definitely need to add some glue to ensure a good connection. Your new shaft, I already prepared the inside, so what I did was, this has been scuffed up with 60 grit sandpaper so that you'll get a good adhesion to that, and then I cleaned it with some alcohol, so it's ready to go. Because if you do see some instructions online, they'll talk about how you need to prep it that way, but I already did that. So first thing we want to do is add some glue here. And as I mentioned earlier, you can do it with a glue gun, which is highly preferable, or you can try to just put the glue on here over the heat gun, which I'm going to show you in a second. The glue gun is really much more preferable. Okay, so here I have my DeWalt heat gun, and this is a variable heat gun, and I've got it kind of set in the middle. So I don't really know the temperature, quite honestly. But the trick with any time putting heat to these components is to not leave the heat gun in one place too long, because you could technically hurt the epoxy or the UV coating on the blade or the shaft. But if you keep the heat gun moving, I mean, you keep the paddle or the shaft moving, it won't be a problem. Hope I can do this without cooking my GoPro here. Okay, so now this is on, getting hot. And this is just kind of the motion I like to use. So just back and forth. back and forth like this, just to evenly heat it up. And you can see the glue that's on there getting shiny. That means it's already heating up and actually pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is take the glue gun and put some excess on here. Now I'm just going to put that little bit right there, because the other alternative, if you can't get a glue gun, is you can start to, you can see the end of that getting hot. You can start to melt this and then keep it hot and add glue this way. This does work. Like I say, it's kind of tedious. It's kind of tedious, but it does work. You can see that piece of glue. Hopefully you can see that. Go ahead. Okay, so you just have to do that a little longer. Just to speed this up, I'm just going to add a little more glue on here. Now you need to smooth that out and get it all nice and smooth and melted. So here I just happen to use a tongue depressor. You can use anything that would just spread it around. Now you can see the glue is getting nice and melted. And get it even. Excess is going to squirt out the bottom. I'll show you how to deal with that. So that's really good enough. So you can see I have kind of an even distribution of glue. It's all nice and shiny. When it's shiny like that, it means it should be liquid enough to insert into the shaft. Now, as I mentioned, it's good practice to put just a bead of glue on the inside here. And hopefully this comes out in the video. I think you can see I've got just a little bit of glue on the inside there. Now, what you need to do, get the glue off your hands, is heat up both of these. So now what I'm doing is I'm heating up the shaft with a little bit of glue in here to get this warm. At the meantime, I'm maintaining that glue is nice and melted on the shaft. Now, here again, I am rotating the shaft. I don't want that get any hot spots in the heat gun, and I'm rotating the neck here. Now, basically, take these and twist it and push it. I'm sorry, you can't see that. Twist it and push it. Until it gets down in place, and you can feel it when it bottoms out there. Now, you also want to have the Braca Sport logo side of the blade with the Braca Sport logo on the shaft. Now, this is where you want to align this as best as you can to make sure that the logo is straight in front, and then we can deal with the handle later. But the best way to do that is what I like to do is open up the lock, and then if you set the paddle on a flat surface, so I'm going to set the paddle like on a flat surface, you just won't be able to see it in the video, and then eyeball down this so it's pretty much straight up and down. So that'll give you the locker being, doesn't look like it in the video due to the angle of the way the video camera is, but this is straight up and down, while this is basically flat. So that should give you a nice alignment of the Braca logo in here. Now, while this is cooling, I'll talk about that for a second. When I attached this shaft onto here, air escaped out of there because basically I'm compressing some air. If I had the handle already on here with the handle on it, that air would compress and potentially push through this glue. and you might see a little bubble in the glue. Now that would not make this joint any weaker, but what it could do is at some point, if you've paddled out in the boat for a while and you come back in, you take this apart, there's a little bit of water in here. That could be from a little bit of water being forced back through that spot where that air bubble was. So by doing it this way, meaning attaching it without having the handle on here, it just gives lesser chance of creating an air bubble. Now this is cooling, and when it gets to a certain point, we're gonna remove it. And the way to remove it, this is gonna sound a little crazy, is with denatured alcohol. We're just gonna put a little on it, and then we're just gonna rub it right off. And the trick is, that's still a little too hot and pliable. I mean, this is still warm. You want it to get just a little firmer. And I'll show you how easy it comes off based on that. So I happen to have denatured alcohol in this little squirt bottle. It just makes life a lot easier for me since I'm doing this pretty much all day. Now when this gets cool enough, and it's almost there, you'll see what I'm going to do with the denatured alcohol. Just wait another second. Okay, that's still almost there. You can see I can move it a little, it's cooling off. So that's probably good. Now what I would do is just take my alcohol and just put a little bit over this entire piece of glue. Why? I can't tell you why. It's what Braca told me to do and it works. Now what you can do is you can just start to work the glue off, and you can feel it pulling away from the paddle. So you go up a little bit like this, and after you get all the way around, I think I'm all the way around, you then want to pull the other way, pull down. In some places you might have to go back and forth, and this one came out actually pretty good. Now this excess piece, you may need a utility knife to just cut it, but usually when it's still this soft, you can just break it. Now, this one came out pretty clean. There's a spot. So it came out pretty clean, but if you do have a spot of glue on there, all you need to do is use some of this alcohol on a cloth rag. And this works well, especially when it's still kind of warm. And all you need to do is rub that. And you can see there was a little spot of glue there. Actually, this is pretty clean. But that alcohol on the cloth here, rubbing this way, really cleans it up. So there you go. Now you've got your current blade installed in the new shaft. And like I mentioned, you want to get this as close to this lever. You want to get this lever as close to 90 degrees so it's perpendicular to the blade. And if you set the blade on a flat surface and eyeball down the shaft and just look and see where that is, it works pretty well. Okay, now that we have the shaft, the new shaft, glued to your original blade, it's time to take care of the handle. And it's probably a good idea to let this cool a little bit, like 15 minutes or so, and the glue should be good and cured and all ready to go. If you do need to adjust this because you don't like the way the alignment is, it's very easy. All you need to do is heat this up again, same way, over the heat gun, and then just turn it. Well, it doesn't take that much to do that. Okay, so now we have the two options here, the two scenarios, I should say. One is if your handle did fit, pretty straightforward. Take it out, pop it in, and then you just need to check the alignment. So that the handle might not be all perfectly aligned. So if that's the case, all you need to do is take the heat gun, turn the heat gun on, rotate this, no need to remove it. Rotate this, get it warm. Now this one's actually not glued, so it's gonna work really well. Just test it. I lied. There is some glue in here. So now you can see, I get it in the camera. So what you need to do now is just go back and forth over the heat gun. until this starts to feel like you can move it a little. Now you can see I can move that shaft. So now what I can do is eyeball down the shaft, as I mentioned before. If you eyeball down the shaft, see how the handle is on the exact same plane as the blade, and then just turn it until it's exactly where you want, then let it cool. Then you're good. So scenario 2, where you are using the new upper shaft that I sent you, you need to glue the handle on. And here, this is a new handle. So let me just see. Here's a handle with some glue already on it. So it's the same process as what we did for the blade. What we're going to do is heat this up. We want to get the existing glue start to become liquid. There you go. You can see the color. It's turning shiny. Hopefully you can see that shiny. And I'm just going to add a little glue on there. Need to put another glue stick in my glue gun. Don't need much, just a little bit of glue. And then take my little tongue depressor. Smooth that glue on there nice and even. You can see that's already heated up pretty good. Now, same process as we went before. Just dab a little bit of glue in there. As you can see, of course, you get all these little strings. Get them out of the way. Heat up both pieces. Okay. Push them together like so. Now you want to align it, so go ahead, put the shafts together, get that right where you want it, the white line and the little mark, lock it, then do the same process. Take a look down and eyeball and adjust it as needed. Then you're going to let this glue cool and do the exact same process with the alcohol, potentially the rag if we need to clean it up. I said we just need to let this cool. See, that's definitely. And how long does it take to cool? I don't know. A couple minutes maybe. I should probably time it, but I haven't. Just kind of keep an eye on it. See, it's definitely takes a minute or so to start to harden. This is a smaller bead of glue than what was on the blade, so it is going to cool a little quicker. Yeah. Okay, that's getting a little better. It's still almost there. Probably a few seconds, and then I'll go ahead. And at this point, you can take it out of the paddle or leave it in. Doesn't really matter. As I said before, if the handle is not perfectly aligned with the blade to your liking, you can adjust it by heating here and turning the handle, or heating here on the shaft and turning the blade. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to put my little bit of alcohol on here. As I said before, I'm not sure exactly why this works, but Braca told me to do it, and it works. Now, same as we did before, I'm just going along and just gently rolling this bead up. And there'll be more resistance in some places depending how thick the glue is. Roll it up and you'll feel it start to release. And once you get around, then go back the other way. And you can see, sometimes you have to go back and forth a little. There we go. You've got that removed. Pop it off, and you're all set. Now, there is some, depends how meticulous people are. if you want to remove that little piece of glue, there's no structural component to that glue. It's just aesthetics. So if you want to, you can take a rag and just rub and get that glue out of there. Depending how, if I were to let this cool just a little bit more so the glue was a little firmer, when I rolled it, it would have pulled it actually right out of that line. So, a little trick I do, here again, this is getting a little meticulous, but depends on, the individual, is I'm just going to pop it out of the shaft just to make it easier. You can take, this happens to be a squeegee for putting decals on, put on a rag while the glue is still warm, which it still is, and then you can just work into that and just get that excess glue out of there if you want. Like I said, it makes no difference for the adhesion to the shaft. It's just more of an aesthetics thing. So you can go around this a few times. So all this is some alcohol on here, and just plastic just gives it an edge, and clean that joint out. So there we are. We now have a fully assembled shaft. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, which you can see, that this one, it's the compressed air forcing it back out. So lock it, and then get a grip on the shaft, on the handle, grip on the blade, and just twist this. Now, if I twist it now, it's actually cooled enough. Sometimes you want to let this cool before you twist it, because you could affect that joint. So I'm twisting this right now, and I can't get this to move at all. And that locker is pretty tight. That's not too bad. That's kind of how you want it to clip, kind of like that. You don't need a ton of, doesn't need to snap really loud. So if it was too loose, for instance, let's just do that. So I've locked it, hold both sides, and now you can see and hear I'm able to turn that. That's obviously no good. That's not, it's only off by a little bit. So it's actually easier if you open the locker. Just give that like a quarter turn. And that's not enough. So give it another quarter turn. You can see the compressed air is pushing that out. Another quarter turn. And you just want to approach that perfect point. There you go. So that second quarter turn, I can just barely turn it. So I'll just give it like an eighth of a turn, just a little bit more. Now that's perfect. So I have just enough tension on this locker so the handle won't move while using the paddle, but not too much tension that will start to wear out those cams over time. Hope that makes sense. And this is something you can adjust over time. I just caution you once again, don't over tighten it, because it does cause premature wear on the little cams in there. And I do have replacements of these where this can be removed and glued back on a new one. It's a little bit of work, but it can be done. It's easy for me to do. If you want to send it back, or I can make another video, I guess, and show you folks how to do that. Hope that makes sense. Thank you.